The 2010 edition of the Exo Terra Expedition took the Exo Terra team to the mountain ranges of Western Cameroon, situated on the Gulf of Guinea at the transition from Western to Central Africa. The aim of this expedition is filming, photographing and mapping the reptiles and amphibians in this area and collecting data on the chameleons that occur in this ecosystem. These data are an important contribution for the scientific world and are also very valuable for the herpetologists who study and breed these animals in terrariums. The members of the expedition gathered in Douala, the major industrial and port city of Cameroon. The team left Douala for a trip over passable to virtually non-passable roads through the mountain massif of Western Cameroon. The first stop was Boja, a small town situated on the slopes of Mount Cameroon, one of the two still active volcanoes in Cameroon, and at 4,000 meters, the highest mountain in Western Africa. The team settles in a small hotel named Capital Residence, just outside Boja, on the mountainside of the volcano. From an altitude of 1,000 meters, the team starts the climb to the tropical rainforest on the slopes of this mountain, passing inmates from the prison situated higher up, and enters the primary forest. The first reptile spotted is a female mountain chameleon, Trioceras montium, at a height of 1,300 meters. The females of Trioceras montium grow to a maximum length of around 20 centimeters and do not have horns, only two small tubercles. The animal is extensively photographed and filmed, and its required measurements are taken. Higher up at a small waterfall, the team finds several Trioceras montium males, which clearly prefer the proximity of water. These males grow considerably longer than the females, up to 25 centimeters, have two horns, and, in contrast with the females, a sort of tail fin on the first quarter of the tail. It's remarkable that in males on the slopes of Mount Cameroon, unlike Trioceras montium males elsewhere in Cameroon, the eyeball and the top part of the casque become black during courtship behavior and when they are excited. Trioceras montium occurs at an altitude of 500 to 1,500 meters. Its distribution extends from Mount Cameroon in the south to Mount Manengouba in the north, with an isolated population on the border with Nigeria in the Takamanda Forest Reserve, 150 kilometers to the northeast. The team continues the climb, and the path is getting smaller and steeper and almost disappears in the lush vegetation. Above 1,500 meters, the temperature drops to less than 20 degrees Celsius. The forest is rich in insects, like colorful crickets, caterpillars, and beetles. In the neighborhood of a small stream live some remarkable frogs. At an elevation of 1,700 meters, the team finds another population of Trioceros montium. Late in the afternoon, the team begins the 2-hour-long descent to Boja and arrives after dark in the hotel. After this exhausting trip, a cool beer is more than welcome, and the findings of this first day in the rainforests of Cameroon are discussed. The next morning, everything is being prepared to continue the expedition in the direction of Mount Coupe. The 2 4-wheel drives are loaded again to start the fairly short but not necessarily easy trip to Niassoso. For the first 75 kilometers, the road, although unhardened, is still reasonably drivable. But from Kumba on, the going becomes more difficult, certainly due in part to the rain from the night before. In Tombel, a stop is made to stock up on the necessary provisions and beverages for tomorrow's climb to Mount Coupe. But the last stretch to Niassoso, a distance of 40 kilometers, takes more than 3 hours because of the lamentable condition of the road. It is hard to imagine how vehicles get through here in the rainy season, which starts in April and lasts till November. In Niassoso, the Women's Center awaits us, a very basic small hotel, scarcely worth being called a hotel. The same evening, a night walk on the run-up to the slopes of Mount Coupe is scheduled. The first animal to be spotted is Leptopelis boulingeri, a green tree frog of which there is also a brown variety, and which occurs from Congo in the south to Nigeria in the north. In a small pool, we hear the concert of several Amietophrynus regularis, a toad species that occurs throughout tropical Africa and is highly dependent on flowing water. The females grow considerably larger than the males and can reach a length of 13 centimeters. A species of Hyperolius that is difficult to name and a cruel-looking toad cross our path. The first chameleon spotted is a sleeping male, Trioceros montium, which like most chameleons spends the night at the end of a branch or leaf so that, in case of danger, it can drop down into the undergrowth below to escape its predators. A bit further, a montium couple is spending the night in each other's company, without, however, being aware that a venomous snake, a young specimen of Toxicodrias pulverulenta, is trying to surprise them in their sleep. The next morning, the members of the expedition again leave in the direction of Mount Coupe, accompanied by some guides and porters. The members of the team and the guides hold a last briefing on the difficulties they will have to face.
Climb. And what about quadruped?
Initially, the path is still flat and runs through plantations, But after a few kilometers, these are replaced by forest and higher up by primary rainforest. A male Trioceros montium is the first reptile to be spotted here. It sits at the top of a young tree and is difficult to distinguish from the surroundings because of its pale green color. Apparently irritated, the spots on its head become an intense blue and those on its body white. Only a black horizontal line runs through its eye, in contrast with Mount Cameroon specimens where the entire eyeball as well as the top of the casque turns black. Various insects occur on these lower slopes of Mount Coupe, like a red-colored bug and a Polydesmus angustus, the most common species of the flat-backed millipedes in Africa, and several colorful butterflies, caterpillars, and grasshoppers. The African praying mantis, Sphodromantis lineola, occurs throughout West and Central Africa, and the females, like this pregnant one, can attain a length of 8 centimeters. The climb to Mount Coupe is rather heavy going, and regular rest breaks are taken. The higher the team climbs, the more humid and chilly it is. At an altitude of 1,500 meters lives Trioceros pfefferi, a chameleon species that only occurs in Cameroon. This endemic species also lives outside of Mount Coupe, its type habitat, in the Manengouba Mountains and in the Takamanda forest near the Nigerian border. As in Trioceros montium, only the males have horns. In Trioceros pfefferi, they start from a rostral platform consisting of enlarged scales that also cover the base of the horns up to halfway their length. With a maximum total length of 15 centimeters, Trioceros pfefferi females stay about 5 centimeters smaller than the males. Females are lacking the 2 horns, but both sexes possess a prominent gular crest composed of only a few well-spaced conical tubercles, but lack a ventral crest. The western pygmy chameleon, Rhampholion spectrum, a leaf chameleon, occurs in a large part of central mid-Africa, from Nigeria and the Democratic Republic of Congo to Congo-Brazzaville in the south. It lives mainly on the ground and searches for food among fallen leaves and spends the night in the deeper undergrowth. Its habitat stretches from sea level to an altitude of 1,900 meters. There is clear sexual dimorphism. The females are slightly bigger, and in males the presence of the hemipenises is clearly noticeable because of a remarkable thickening at the base of the tail. On the way back, on the forest floor, hidden between some dead leaves, the team crosses the path of this very curious gecko. It is the recently discovered Hemidactylus camdentohami from the Ibunji mountain in southern Gabon, described in 2002 by Bauer and the Belgian herpetologist Olivier Pauwels. Very remarkable and unusual is its laterally curled tail that was not even mentioned in the original description, as it was described on a specimen with a regenerated tail. A light lavender-colored snake is spotted in the crown of a small tree. Toxicodrias pulverulenta is a poisonous but not life-threatening snake. It is not aggressive and can grow to a length of 1.25 meters. It has a fairly wide distribution from Sierra Leone to Uganda. The team starts on the long descent and returns to the camp in Niasoso. During dinner, the members of the team are visited by one of the village elders.
This is Chris, this is Simon.
Hi.
This is David.
Chris.
This is Lauren.
Chris was there.
Chris?
There
is Chris.
This is Roland. This is Roland. I'm Chris.
Hey, Chris. Who was there?
That's Roland. He comes from Germany.
In Germany.
Yeah, he's from Germany.
C'est un grand merci. Then who are you?
This is Mr. David.
David. From Germany.
No, from America.
From the United States.
United States. Na European. Na European. Na the Carolina. Are you my name? The great our Lord Jesus Christ.
After a bumpy drive of 2 hours, the team arrives in Bangam and moves into the only hotel in this village with the promising name Prestige. The next morning, a trip in an adjacent wood is planned, but like anywhere in Cameroon, the permission of the local village chief is required to enter the forest. The wood is rather dry, and the only reptile that can be found is spotted by Lauren. It is a young female Trioceros montium that immediately is examined by Chris.
Young female.
Before continuing the trek, a courtesy call is paid on one of the local dignitaries. The team continues on its way into the Manengouba Mountains to an altitude of over 1,500 meters to the small settlement of Puela. Here too, the team is invited by the local village chief and needs his permission to explore the surrounding forest. Accompanied by some porters and guides, the search for reptiles occurring here is started, with the main aim of finding Trioceros peretti. Although the trees are searched thoroughly as well, Trioceros peretti mainly occurs in grassy patches and undergrowth, and the survival of this species is thus regularly severely threatened by the systematic burning off of the grass plains by local farmers. The first animal the team spots is a male, around 1 meter above the ground in the low brushwood. In contrast with most Trioceros species from this area, the male has no horns. Trioceros peretti can grow to a total length of 19 centimeters and occurs only in the Manengouba Mountains. Males differ from females by a more brightly colored forehead, while the 3 or 4 spots on the sides have a blue center with a yellow edge in the females. Someone in the village has caught a snake, and Roland immediately goes off to investigate. It is a Gabon viper, Bitis gabonica, but appears not to have survived its confrontation with man. Its head is split in 2. Evening sets in, and the team politely declines the village chief's offer to stay for the evening meal, and to spend the night in the village. The next morning, all the equipment is collected and loaded again, and the trip to the 3 hours distant Chang is started. At first on the same type of roads as incoming, but for the last hour on a hardened road, and the team has time to take on a small stock of pineapple. Chang is a fairly large city that we only use as a transit stop to the more northern Oku Mountains. In the afternoon there is a simple lunch, and it rains cats and dogs the entire afternoon. Via Mbuda, where you can learn how to use a taxi with 14 people, the team drives on.
But that was like in my it was like subconsciously already when I was saying, yeah, we lost the specimen.
After some stops in between, lunch is taken in Bamenda. Bamenda is the capital of the Northwest Province and has a population of nearly 500,000 inhabitants. It is the largest English-speaking city in Cameroon and is the furniture center of this country.
See, it's never good to send picture home from you.
Once outside the city, the road becomes as bad as on the previous days. The village of Oku is situated at an altitude of 1,950 meters. The local guide welcomes the team and takes it along to the brand new Oku tourist office.
Yeah, I have a small hotel that
It would be nice to see one of those, eh?
Oh.
Accommodation is found in a newly opened guest house with no name, but no restaurant and food either, and only sporadic water and electricity. The same afternoon, a trip to the forest at an altitude of 2,100 meters is organized. The forest appears to be sacred, like virtually all forests in Cameroon, an ideal reason to acquire alcohol for the local dignitaries. In spite of the late hour, the team penetrates into the forests of Mount Oku. The first chameleon to be spotted is a male Trioceros serratus, one of the more finely colored chameleons in this area. The team doesn't get much additional information from the porters and guides' explanations. High up in a tree, a female Trioceros quadricomus gracilior is spotted, which Chris immediately examines, and for the time being, some pictures are taken of it.
It almost looks like small horns on the female. Most of the normal quadricornis, it seems a lot smoother. We're gonna have to get some good photos of the head as well, because right behind the nostril it looks like almost horns coming out of the side of the face. not along the crest or anything.
Yeah, we need to take some good microscope shots.
Oh man.
Definitely. Beautiful animal.
Wow.
Out.
A bit further, there is a male Trioceros quadricomus gracilior in the high bushes, with its head down. This animal, too, is meticulously examined and photographed. Some animals are taken along in the overcrowded off-road vehicles for further measuring. The next morning, we visit the local mask maker and woodcarver. The large variety of relics and taboo-loaded objects of this remote community is remarkable, and also gives an impression of the diversity of masks that are used here for festivities and important events. The local custom that says that a mask can be used only once ensures that the local mask maker is never short of work. His son offers the discarded examples for sale to the few tourists that visit Oku. In the afternoon, the members of the team again trek into the forest to perform further research on the endemic chameleons. At a clearing further into the wood live various examples of Trioceros quadricornus gracilior. Gracilior differs from the Trioceros quadricornis quadricornis nominate race in its shorter body length and longer and thinner horns. The tail fin in the males is also smaller than in Trioceros quadricornis quadricornis. The females lack the tail fin completely. It was given its subspecies name gracilior, derived from the Latin gracilis, meaning elegant and gracious, because of its slimmer build than that of the nominate type. Both quadricornis species can have the rudiments of a third horn on each side, which in some specimens can form a full horn. In adult females, the rudimentary horns are visible as two small knobs at the front of the rostrum. This elegant chameleon occurs at an altitude between 1,600 and 2,500 meters in the mountainous area north of the town of Chang, like the Bambuto Mountains, the Oku Mountains, as well as on the Obudu Plateau across the border with Nigeria. A specific characteristic of this subspecies are the red toenails. On further examination, it is established that the horn-like claws are colorless, and the red coloration is caused by blood circulating through the transparent claws. Another striking feature of this subspecies are the blue spots on the cheeks, in males as well as females. Trioceros serratus lives in the same biotope. Trioceros serratus is described by Robert Mertens as chameleon serratus in December 1921. Until recently, this species was called Trioceros wiedersheimi, but in 2010 Barech renamed it Trioceros serratus, and it's closely related to Trioceros peretti. Its distribution extends from northwestern Cameroon to beyond the border with Nigeria, while the biotope of Trioceros peretti is limited to the more southern Manengouba Mountains. Especially when the males are excited, their body becomes a very bright green, their belly takes on a deep blue, and the eyeball and part of the casque turn yellow. In this same area, several juveniles are spotted. Helped by Simon and Lauren, Chris takes the key measurements of some specimens of Trioceros quadricornis gracilior and gives them back their freedom.
The ocular crest to rostrum length. Okay, the next measurement we want?
Yep.
Is from the tip of the casque back here to right where the base of that horn is. Let's get the jaw length.
I will say 21.
0.7.
0.7.
Jaw joint skull width.
Yep, jaw joint skull width. The width.
There you go.
I don't think they appreciate it very much.
Being free.
No, being
in the bags.
yeah.
It's already dark when the team returns to Oku after a tiring day. The next morning, the team returns south, back to the Manengouba Mountains to search the caldera and the woods around the twin lakes. During the descent along the slopes of Mount Oku, the team finds several Trioceros serrachos crossing the road, which are not happy with the attention they are paid. It's surprising how these animals climb up the virtually vertical sand walls with a minimum of grip and hold. At the level of Lake Biomis, smoke emerges from underneath the bonnet of one of the four-wheel drive cars. Fortunately, it turns out to be only a badly closed radiator cap. The lakes of the Oku volcanic field are lakes situated in the craters of non-active or rather resting volcanoes. Carbon dioxide has accumulated on the bottom of some of these lakes, and overlying cold water layers prevent it from escaping. However, in 1986, this fragile balance in Lake Nios was disrupted as a result of an earthquake. The deathly gas escaped and flowed into the valley, killing 1,700 people by asphyxiation. It's unlikely that Lake Biomis is one of these deathly lakes. The problem with the radiator is soon fixed, and we continue on the road to Bamenda, where we have lunch. On the way, some shopping is done at a local market, mainly fresh fruit and vegetables for the stay in Bangam. New tires are collected for the rough ride through the Manengouba Mountains. The team moves into the familiar Hotel Prestige in Bangam. The next day, the Exo Terra team gets further into the Manengouba Mountains, along the sparsely forested edges of the caldera, hoping the local herpetofauna did not suffer too much from the intense deforestation that took place here during the last decades. The plain in the middle of the caldera only consists of grassland. In the center are located the twin lakes, two crater lakes, a male and a female lake. In the larger female lake, bathing is allowed, while the smaller male lake is sacred and cannot be disturbed. only a small ridge separates the two lakes. Some members of the team walk to the wall of the caldera to examine the wooded outer edge, but without any real result. Along a small settlement whose inhabitants approach the passing cars out of curiosity, the team penetrates deeper into the caldera. Along the flanks there are still some small vestiges of wood and higher vegetation. The high walls are impressive, but mainly deforested, which is also caused by the local inhabitants who burn off these few remnants to create more grazing land for their cows and goats. Some members of the team set out on a trip to the hills on the edge of the smallest crater lake, where some remnants of the original vegetation still surround the lake. Every effort is made to get bright pictures of the rather mystical lake. On the return journey, some birds of prey and a hammerkop with the scientific name Scopus umbretta are photographed. Back at the off-road vehicles, the crew has prepared lunch, but unfortunately forgot the cutlery.
What's that? Being filmed too.
I thought that too. It was actually
Makes
harder
sense.
coming down. I ate shit so many times.
It's the last day. All the equipment is packed again and stored in the four-wheel drives. This morning will be used to explore once again the slopes of Mount Manengouba, on a spot where the team noticed the day before that on that particular place the forest seems to be untouched. Some team members penetrate the tropical rainforest, which to their surprise is nearly intact. At a small clearing in the forest, the team finds the first chameleon, a male Trioceros quadricornis quadricornis, or southern four-horned chameleon. The males of this beautiful chameleon can grow to an overall length of 38 centimeters. The females stay about 10 centimeters shorter. Its name refers to its four horns, although several animals have 6, and even the rudiments of a 4th pair of horns. Like many chameleons from this area, the male also has a tail fin at the base of the tail. Its color is bright lemon green, with 2 orange, red to brown spots extending from the shoulder to the groin. The throat area, belly and tail are bright green, and some blue spots adorn its forehead. The most stunning discovery during this expedition is probably this chameleon. Without any doubt a Trioceros montium, but with the big difference that these specimens from the flank of the Manengouba Mountains are smaller than any population of Trioceros montium known so far. The females of this species that the team finds here have a maximum length of 160 millimeters versus 200 millimeters in the other populations. In the males, the ratio is 211 millimeters versus 251 millimeters, which means, for example, that the animals on Mount Cameroon are up to 25% larger than those on Mount Manengouba. Chris collects the necessary data from this species, as well as from the Trioceros quadricornis, occurring in this same area.
That's not a good sign.
Finally, the classic group photo is taken before the Exo Terra team returns, tired but satisfied, to Douala after a successful expedition.